Hello everyone, Mr. Isner here, and today we're going to continue our unit on similar triangles. And today, specifically, we're going to be looking at what is called a scale factor. Now, last time we looked at a ratio, and we thought of those ratios as fractions. And so today, we're going to continue with more of the same. We're just going to start to apply that knowledge and start to get into some figures. So here is our famous and most loved triangles. And so what I want to do is just take a second and notice that we have some corresponding parts here, some congruent parts here. Whoa, some congruent parts. So you'll notice that since these three things are corresponding, these parts are congruent, but the triangles are congruent because they're two different sizes. However, we can still think of these in terms of corresponding parts. Although they're not congruent triangles, these triangles, we'll find out later, are called similar. But let's take a second and notice that between A and B is angle 1 and angle 2, right? 1 hash mark, 2 hash marks, 1 hash mark, 2 hash marks. And so what we can do here is think of these sides, A, B, and D, E, as corresponding sides. And the reason that is because, they're both between angles 1 and 2. The angles are congruent. It's just that the sizes of the measures are different, clearly, right? There's literally numbers there. And so let's say, for example, you wanted to pick another side. Let's pick EF and BC. I wonder if I can do this one like this. Nope. How? Whatever. So here's BC. And here's EF. And what are we going to do? Well, let's look at a ratio between the two sides. So let's look at the ratio. Well, let's see. What is the ratio from going from ABC to DEF? Well, a ratio we know is a fraction, right? So let's make a fraction. Let's do the first one from our pink side. Let's do 8/12. And then the second one from our purple side, let's do 10/15. Now, this might seem counterintuitive, but just stay with me. 8/12 can be reduced to 3/4, and no, 2/3, my B. 2/3, and this one can also be reduced to 2/3. So we have our scale factor here. So notice though, if I multiply a number, okay, let me back up. Scale factor. Is 2/3 less than or greater than the number 1? Less than 1. If I multiply a number, say 7, by any number less than 1, will it get bigger or smaller? If I multiply 7 by a number that's less than 1, will it get bigger or smaller? Well, if I multiply 7 by 2/3, look, I don't know what this number is going to be. Okay, I do know what this number is going to be. This is going to be 14/3, which is going to be about 4.667. Did 7 get smaller or larger? It got smaller, right? And so if we were going to make 21 into 14, we would need to multiply 21 by a number less than 1. We would need to multiply 21 by 2/3. And in fact, 21 by 2/3 is 14. And so going from D to F makes the number smaller, so it has to be the fraction less than 1. Now let's think for a second. Well, what about we want to go from ABC to DEF? So let's think. Well, what about if I took the number 8 and I multiplied it not by 2/3, but by 3/2? Okay. Well, if I multiply this by 3/2, that's going to be 24. 24 divided by 2. That's 12. Hey, wait a second. Wait a second. that number just got bigger. And if you notice, 3/2 is a number that's greater than 1. And when you multiply a number that's greater than 1 by another number that's greater than 1, the value will increase. When you multiply a number, say 8, by any number that's greater than 1, the result will be greater than 8. And so when we're considering scale factor, when we're considering going from A to B, or B to AB to B to DE, or from DF to AC, what we need to think of is what fraction can we make with the corresponding parts, and will that make the number larger or smaller? And the answers to those questions will be how we determine what the scale factor is. Now, just remember that we can have a ratio, and a ratio we will typically write as a fraction, but just remember that what's the ratio? It could look like that. Now we could also do the perimeter. So we would have to add all these numbers up, add all these numbers together, and see what the ratio is. But you will find that since it's going this way, it will still be 2/3. It'll still be 2/3, because that's what the scale factor is. That's the number that's less than 1, and it will make all the other numbers into the corresponding parts. Thanks for watching.